All right, Josh, you were asking about North Korea, and I told you I'd come up with something. Here's what I've come up with. It's a mess. North Korea is a mess. Uh, we know he had a heart procedure. We heard everything else from there is a rumor. I mean, obviously, the guy had a heart procedure. He was a big ball of bacon grease. So, yeah, obviously, his ticker is not good. Also, his father and grandfather both died of heart failure, which in North Korea, heart failure could be brought on by an anti-aircraft gun to the chest. So, it's probably a safe bet that he's had some complications. Has it killed him? Who knows? Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. Right now, really, really hard to say. They don't call North Korea the Hermit Kingdom for nothing. I mean, little to no information comes out of there, and what comes out is generally bad. Kim doesn't seem like the kind of cat that would allow a lot of folks around him who had power or prominence. I don't think he's the kind that would allow combative factions within his court. Like, I don't think he's one to pit one faction against another within his court, because if he were to do that, and history shows us that when you have strong rivals just underneath the king, eventually one of them decides that they will make a better king. This tubby little tin pot tyrant, I don't think he's one to permit that. I think he would want everyone around him to be weak and soft and kowtow to him and not even be a potential threat. Also, you got to remember, he's still really young, or he was really young. And if he's looking long term, he might permit rivalries later in his rule, trying to figure out who's going to take his place. I think this would have happened too early for him to have set up something like that. I mean, everybody's talking about there's no known successor. Yeah, because there's no one strong enough to step in and take his place, because they might step in and take his place. The strongest character that anyone knows of is his sister, and it's possible that he allowed her to take on that level of prominence because of the patriarchal nature of Korean culture. So he may have thought a powerful woman wasn't the same kind of threat as a powerful man, and inadvertently put her in the best place to take over. Now, will she be able to pull it off? Who knows? Certainly, if she came out as a leader of North Korea, it would be a major game changer. I mean, the Western press would fawn all over her. They've already given her a lot of good press. And China has a lot of influence in North Korea and might be looking at her and her position of leadership in North Korea as a way for China to save some face by backing a female leader in North Korea. Hearing a lot of people talking about North Korean nukes and concerns about North Korean nukes. I don't think that's realistic. Anybody talking about, oh, what do we do about the nukes? What's the problem with the nukes? Do we have to worry about the nukes? I kind of discount their opinion right off the bat, because what's the advantage of launching a nuke right now? Like, using a nuke. North Korea is not going to start a war with South Korea or China or Japan or anybody, especially not when their leadership is kind of up in the air. It would just be insane. It wouldn't make any sense. It doesn't mean it won't happen. I mean, there's a lot coming out of North Korea that makes no sense. It's always been like that. But I just don't think it's a realistic possibility. Heard a lot of people talking about potentially a civil war in North Korea. I don't think that's likely either. Like I said, I don't think there's anybody in the military that's powerful enough or prominent enough to pull off something like that. It just doesn't make any sense that Kim would allow powerful men in his orbit. I mean, there's not much more. There's really not very much known about what's happening in North Korea ever. They're being very close-lipped about what's happening there now. I mean, everybody's talking about the possibility of reform, and there's some that think this could be a moment for North Korea to reform, and some that think that it's not. But nobody thought Russia was going to reform before Gorbachev. All it takes is one change in leadership to fundamentally alter the position of the country on the world stage. I don't think China would want a civil war. I think it might be embarrassing to them. I've heard from several sources that China would consider an open conflict over leadership of North Korea to be an embarrassment. I don't think they could take another embarrassment after the coronavirus. I think it's going to be calm, quiet. We might not hear anything for weeks, and when we do hear something, it may not be too much. The most dramatic thing that could possibly happen, as far as I can see, is his sister takes over. Then you could see a pretty dramatic shift in the position of North Korea on the world stage. She could be a major reform figure if she could hold power, if she has that kind of prominence in North Korea. I heard somebody talking about, would the people accept her? The people in North Korea are sheep. They actually think that the Kim family are gods and that they're keeping unicorns or something in a private garden. It's nuts. The people have no voice. The people are not going to stand up. The people, they're not going to notice. If people in power tell them that this woman is now going to be your leader, they will drool over her the same way they worship Kim Jong Tubby Tub Tub. If any world leader needs to die, it's this fat little turd. And if any regime needed to be changed, it's North Korea. I mean, in fact, North Korea is just another example of the utter uselessness that the UN is. If the UN were a viable organization, tyrannical dictatorships like North Korea wouldn't even exist. Don't know how helpful that is. Don't know how much I've answered your question, but hey, if you want more, you know how to reach me. Good luck, Josh. Hope you got what you need.